Well, YouTube, back again here. I know it's been about a minute, but I wanted to put an update on here explaining some of our new Mississippi firearm laws that are going into effect, especially as it concerns to open carry. Mississippi, for a while now, with our new Attorney General Jim Hood, he's not really new, but our Attorney General Jim Hood has not been an open carry state, basically, because of interpretation of our state statutes and laws. The statutes have been poorly defined and poorly interpreted, a lot of people think. Our state constitution makes it clear that owning firearms and carrying firearms for personal protection is completely legal. However, there is a clause that states that the state may basically forbid or regulate concealed firearms. So we do have concealed carry in Mississippi, but it is regulated, and you do have to have a gun permit to conceal carry. Now, it doesn't say anything about open carry in the Constitution, therefore, since it doesn't say anything about it, you should be allowed to do it, because it doesn't say you can't do it. And that's what laws don't make things legal, they make things illegal. So, however, the actual firearm laws, when you go into detail, had clauses in them such as a pistol may only be carried concealed or if a pistol is carried concealed or concealed in part is considered a misdemeanor unless you have a gun permit. Well, concealed in part was being interpreted to mean being in a holster, essentially, because part of the holster was covering some of the gun. That's how they interpreted it. Therefore, there was no such thing as open carrying. Therefore, there was no such thing in Mississippi as permitless carry. So you could only carry with the permit. Now, I really think it was interpreted that way as a ploy to make everybody get gun permits, but they still have not been open carry friendly. Basically still stating after that the gun needs to be completely concealed. Now that's weird to me. Whenever it was being partially concealed in the holster, should I be good if I'm carrying in a holster with a gun permit openly? But however, that law has been changed.
Okay, with the original firearm laws, this was the only proper way you could legally carry a gun in Mississippi, albeit on printing. We don't have printing laws in this state, and really that kind of looks like it could be an iPhone or anything, but this is how you had to carry. This, albeit it seems like you could carry this way, this is still considered partially concealed because the holster is partially covering some of the gun and would require a gun permit. This has changed. It's been signed into law as of July 1st. It's like how it makes more sense, I guess, to most people. It would make more sense to most people. This is openly carried and no longer requires a gun permit to be openly carried, as long as it's in plain view and you can be seen. And it is in a proper holster, and this is concealed carry. Debatable in this gray area. Cops gonna probably tell you need to conceal it a little bit better than that, or you need to get it out in the open. But this is concealed carry and requires a gun permit. This will not. This starts July 1st.
Albeit I am not really into open carry myself for tactical reasons, but I'm glad that I live in a state where it's at least allowed. It also kind of keeps you in a little bit safer if you ever have an issue with exposure, like you accidentally expose your handgun, because it happens. You bend over wrong, get a strong gust of wind, or you're lifting something heavy and your shirt just rides up a little bit and your gun shows. So it seems to be doing okay so far, but it starts July 1st when you can legally open carry in Mississippi. Basically what they did is they took partially concealed out of the gun law altogether. There is no more partially concealed. It's either concealed or it's not. It's just all there is to it. Partially concealed was the big issue that was making the law really hard to interpret. And a lot of people jumped on Jim Hood's case about it, but to be honest, I think he was just interpreting it as to how it looked, because it was poorly written. The statute was very poorly written. Partially concealed is impossible to figure out what does that mean. What does that actually? At what point is something partially concealed? So they struck it out completely, put a good definition. To your best judgment, you can't see it's completely obscured from sight. That's concealed. Basically, they defined it better. I've got some of the text here, and I'll read it. But starting July 1st, let me go into some of the text here. Essentially, it used to read, except as otherwise provided in section yada yada yada, any person who carries concealed in whole or in part any Bowie knife, dart, it goes in this long list of things. Is punishable with a misdemeanor upon conviction, be punished as follows, and then list the fines for it. But now it's except as otherwise provided in section yada yada, any person who carries concealed on or about one's person. So there you go. Of course, it does not count in the car. The car is an extension of your home in Mississippi. So, yay for that one. That won't be an issue. And then it goes into that. It struck out in whole or in part in all the firearm laws. It shall not be a violation of this section for any person of the age of 18 years to carry a firearm or a deadly weapon concealed within the confines of his own home or place of business. And in whole or in part is struck out. Concealed in whole or in part. They got rid of that. Then there's another one. For the purpose of this section, concealed means hidden or obscured from common observation and shall not include any weapon listed in subsection 1, the list of knives and stuff like that, and pistols and long guns, included but not limited to a loaded or unloaded pistol carried upon the person in a sheath, belt holster, or shoulder holster that is wholly or partially visible, or carried upon the person in a scabbard or case for carrying a weapon that is wholly or partially visible. The gun's concealed. That's basically what all there is to it. They got away with the 3 or more persons, exhibit. There 3 people see it, it's considered brandishing. Now it's another person brandish or wield the same in an over-threatening manner, not necessary in self-defense. In other words, someone makes you mad, and for example, I'll use this old single action, doing something like that, or like, obviously that's going to be a problem. But if you were to, be displaying it and showing it to them, take it out like this, and handing it to them or something, then you don't have as many issues. There's your brandishing thing, threatening somebody with the damn thing. I mean, that's once again common sense. Because it used to be if 3 people saw it and 3 people got scared, it was brandishing. Okay. Got some more stuff here, some of the new stuff. Let me find it. Okay. All this is stuff about the application process, but that's not important. I need the actual stuff here, the actual dealios. The licensing requirements of this section do not apply to the carrying of any by a person. Damn it! The licensing requirements of this section do not apply to the carrying by any person of a stun gun, pistol, or revolver, knife, or other deadly weapon that is not concealed as defined in section 9737-1. Basically, there you go. That's the open carry statute. That's the statute that says, if the licensing stuff does not apply if you're carrying a weapon that is not concealed. Now, I wish they had been a little bit more specific. And then they struck out further, nothing in this section shall be construed to allow the open and unconcealed carrying of a stun gun or deadly weapon as defined in section yada yada. That's been struck out. That's gone. So that was where they put the nail in the casket for open carry, and then they brought it back in the same bill. So this starts the 1st of July. I'm already detecting my the share of issues that I'm going to see with that. A lot of police departments are already saying, well, we're educating our officers on the law change. And of course, in my mind, I'm like, why do you have to educate officers? Shouldn't they already kind of understand this concept? I mean, most law-abiding citizens understand this concept. Why would someone who enforces the law for a living not be able to grasp this concept without having to have special instructions? But I've talked to some people that are police officers I know personally, and they'll already tell you, well, most cops that I know never carried before they were a cop. Half of them don't fool around with guns, period. They're not really into guns and stuff like that, which to me, I'm like, kind of comes with the job, but somewhat. And of course, I keep hearing the officer safety thrown around a lot. I'm tired of hearing that word. I understand that is number one priority in law enforcement is officer safety. And I say that as someone who's trying to get into law enforcement right now. So I understand that is a major concern. You want to come home at the end of the day. But if you ever had it in your mind that being a police officer was going to be a safe job to begin with, you shouldn't have been a police officer. And of course, I'm seeing the sheriff of Rankin County, for example, come out and say, "Well, I support the Second Amendment, but there's always that but. Officer safety is my concern." The funny thing about that, statistically, states with open carry have really not had any issues. Crime rates have gone down in a lot of the states and have not had really any issues with it. Am I saying that this is the answer to the problems? No, it's an issue that we've needed to fix for a while. Our gun laws have been really funky. and now that I think they're really solidifying very, very, very well. The other issue is if you're going to get into officer safety, cops in Mississippi, after I checked the statistics, are killed by their own cruisers more than anything else. There are more motorcycle and car accident related deaths with police officers than anything else in Mississippi. Very few cops get killed by gunfire in this state. That's just all there is to it. And it was never by a law-abiding citizen. It was always by a criminal. I mean, someone that was, already committing a crime, was being pursued after committing a crime, or an officer was responding to domestic violence and got shot. It was always something like that. It was, it was a fleeing convict. It was always something that open carry would have nothing to do with. There's no case law for, there's no cases for it so far. I don't know what's going to happen because we're just now doing it. It starts July 1st. But I do foresee some issues because we have no case law in Mississippi for it yet to stand on, but we'll have to see where it goes. I do foresee some problems. I'm not a big open carry guy anyways, so I won't be doing it very often at all, but I do see a couple little problems. They're going to arise at first, and I think it'll probably go pretty smooth. This Mississippi, I mean, there's guns everywhere. It is what it is. And oddly enough, we don't really have a lot of issues with it. We do have a lot of gun deaths, but unfortunately, most of those are, I hate to say it, minority crime in Jackson, and other urban cities like that. And it's statistically kind of, depressing, but that's the issues that we have with the state. But I foresee it going over pretty well after a while, but at first it's going to be a really touchy subject. So that's it. As of July 1st, the law backs up our right to open carry in the state of Mississippi without a permit. You don't have to have a gun permit to open carry. I've already checked with the business that I work at, and we are going to allow open carry. As long as it's not causing issues, we will allow guests coming into the business that I work for, and I work in the hospitality industry, to open carry. The issue, we do serve alcohol. I don't know how I'm going to feel about that quite yet, but there's no laws concerning alcohol in Mississippi. Well, you can't be in a bar, but we may have to not allow people to sit at the bar top, and I may just make that my bar's policy, because I don't really, even as a gun guy and a concealed carrier, I don't really want people sitting at the bar top drinking beer or mixed drinks or alcohol while openly carrying a pistol. It just doesn't jive well with some people, and really in your mind it shouldn't jive well anyways. To me, it's no different than drinking and driving, but not saying it's something that I'm going to strictly enforce. But as a matter of fact, that may already be, you could probably already kind of deduct the idea that that's not okay anyways. But the issue is the laws concerning going into an establishment for serving alcohol in Mississippi are only discussing the concealed carry of firearms, nothing said about open carry. So open carry is pretty much unrestricted at this point. So that's kind of the issue that we're going to have with it. What are the restrictions? Because we do have restrictions for concealed carry. Most states do, like can't carry in churches, bars, posted places. We're going to have that issue with open carry at first till we kind of establish boundaries. I imagine the first one's going to be established as posted areas, and then probably bars after that, I'm sure. But most people are already carrying bars anyways here. I mean, it's kind of impossible to enforce, but we'll see where it goes. But basically, my video earlier, I said we are not an open carry state, and it made it clear we are an open carry state. As July 1st starts open carry. So, if y'all have any questions, let me know. I'm a small channel, so feel free to like this video and subscribe. I'll put them up kind of slow. I'm really busy with getting married and stuff soon, and trying to get some of these police department jobs. So, y'all take it easy and stay safe.
She said, do you come from a